Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel.
Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, thank you guys for stopping in. After this video is over, maybe you'll go check out another video. If you like what you see, you can hit the subscribe button. While you're down there, drop a like on this video. It really helps me out. But in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to disassemble your headlights. By disassemble, I mean you put them in the oven and completely separate them so you can get to the inside. And if you're wanting to add any lights, retrofit anything, paint match, you can then do that there. Today I'm just going to be paint matching my headlights, but I'm going to show you step by step how I do that and how you can do it on your vehicle. So let's jump right into it.
Okay, so with these headlights, these are 6.0 headlights on a 7.3, so I did have to trim my header panel, so this might not be how your headlights are mounted. Mine have 2 screws on the bottom, 2 push pins on the top to hold them in, since I cut out the original factory mounting points for the 7.3 style headlights. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get all of these taken out on both sides, and then I will show you guys inside on how to disassemble these. Now, once you have your headlights out and you're inside with your oven, now you can use a heat gun, but I've taken apart about 15 to 20 sets of headlights. And my first ever ones I tried with a heat gun, and I warped the headlights. I completely ruined them. I have since then opened 15 to 20 headlights in an oven without having a single issue. Besides the very first time I did it, I let it sit in the oven too long and I warped the headlight. And that was my learning curve of the time frame on which it needs to be in the oven and the temperature. So while you're getting your headlights taken apart, and I'm going to show you guys how to disassemble everything off the headlight that you don't want going in the oven, I am going to preheat the oven to 250. So while you're taking everything apart, all the screws and seals and everything like that off the headlights, the oven can be preheating in the background. So the temperature I use is 250. And once at 250, just hit start and it'll start preheating, and now we can start getting everything off the headlight. So if we look on the headlight itself, you see we have these little snap clips for the screws to go into. Just go ahead and pull those off. You don't want anything serious metal in there because the metal will heat up more and melt the plastic. Then flip it over, and if you have any seals like this, go ahead and pull that off so it doesn't get ruined. And you'll see little screws throughout the back side of it. So we have a screw here, here, and here as well. I don't see, oh, one more right here. So there's 3 right here and 1 right here. We're gonna go ahead and pull all of those out. Like I said, metal will heat up more than the plastic. You don't want it to melt it. Okay, so once we have all the screws out of this, you just want to look it over and make sure you're not missing anything. A lot of the times, Chinese manufacturers will actually put screws along the outside. It's to help keep it together. So we're just going to check real quick and make sure there's no more screws that we're missing. Now, if you just bought the headlights and you're doing this with a brand new set of headlights, odds are you're going to have some type of plastic guard that goes over top of the holes to keep dirt out. You do want to take that off, as well as the plastic cover that will go across this. It's like saran wrap almost. It's just to protect it from getting scratched. Brand new headlights out of the box, they all have those. Pull that off, it will melt to this and you will not be able to get it off. This headlight is ready to go in the oven. I'm going to repeat the same steps on the next headlight, but I will show you guys what to do from here. Okay, now that our oven is preheated, I like to get some type of oven pan that can keep this off the rack, keeps anything from falling down. And then I like to get an old towel, something I'm not worried about if it were to, get burnt or get melted plastic or any of the sealant from the headlight, anything like that on it, I'm not worried about it. And then I put the headlight face down on it. This towel helps protect the headlight from getting scratched and also protects it from having plastic to metal contact. That'll prevent it from getting burnt any faster. If you have any headlights like I do that have a built-in halo or anything like that have wires attached that you can't necessarily pull out, I take them and I shove them in one of the lighting holes, whether it be the headlight, turn signal, whatever. I do this so the wires don't fall down and make contact with the oven elements and burn anything, melt any wires. This way they're just held in here sturdy. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to pull it out. If it's not ready, then I will go in 5-minute intervals from there on, but do not do 10, 10, 10, 10. Do 10, pull it out, try and separate it. If it doesn't separate, then do 5 more. So going in the oven. Okay, so super easy. This is actually one of the easiest headlights I've ever opened. It came apart very easily. So some of the screws that I took out were actually holding this in. So there was 2 screw holes here, another screw hole here. We took out a total of 4. So I don't know what the other screws were holding in. But now we have to separate this from the lens because this is actually what we're going to be painting. So if you look, this is what you see on the front of the headlight. This is all backing. You don't see any of this over, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about. You don't see any of this inside the headlight. So everything you see is this black right here, and that is what we are going to be color matching today. And I've got a couple other things I'm going to do while I'm at it, but now we need to separate everything. So go back to our screwdriver. I've kept everything separated per side. So this is my driver's side headlight. I have all my driver's side screws over here. My passenger headlight, I have all the screws over here. So I'm actually gonna move that before it gets mixed up. So I had to pull the LEDs through the actual headlight itself. Now we should be able to separate this. Okay, maybe not. It doesn't matter. We're painting this all together, but I do have a trick that I learned from my buddy Justin Smith. So guys, I can't say this was my idea. This was all his idea. I'm going to be color matching them, and I'm doing something a little bit different in mine. But I did learn this trick from him, and I want you guys to go check out his channel as well, because he has some very good videos on separating headlights, taillights, painting mirrors, building a badass 6.0. So we're gonna be taking some tape and running it around this and then painting the entire thing, pulling the tape off, and we'll have a nice fine line. But we're not doing that quite yet. So I have this all apart. I have our little side lenses because I'm not leaving those orange. So now we can set this all off to the side, put your lens back on your headlight and put it out of the way. Don't seal it, just lightly put it on there so you don't get any dust inside the headlight. All right guys, so this is the thing that's got a little bit of a twist to it. I am going to be painting these as well, but they're not just going tinted black or anything like that. If you guys watched the Ford emblem video, I'm going to be using the same paint I used on the emblem on these. I love that black with gold flake. It goes really well with the gold truck. But this is what Justin did that I absolutely loved. He has these same set of headlights on his 6.0, and he color matched his, and he did what I'm about to do, and it looked insane. So Justin took this thin tape and made a line through the headlight, and I absolutely freaking loved it. So I'm gonna be doing the same thing to these. So I will have this linked down below, and you guys are welcome to go to Amazon and purchase it for yourself. It's made by 3M, but we're just gonna start. Alright, so that was a little stressful, but it really wasn't bad. It took me 8 minutes to do both sides. I tried to cut straight lines on the end and make them even. Now, it's kind of hard to get even in these bends just because it kind of bends however it wants. Luckily, these are not going to be right next to each other, so you're not going to be able to tell 100% if they're even or not. I still think this is going to look sick. So now that these are all done, I'm going to wipe them down with some rubbing alcohol and make sure all my finger grease is off of it, and then we're gonna spray it with some adhesion. Then we're gonna spray it with some adhesion promoter, and then we will lay our base down on it. We have 3 coats done on each. These are drying as well as these. The little thing I'm worried about is this tape right here lifted pretty good, so I think that line might be a little bit more messed up than I was wanting right there. It started to lift up over here too. If I were to do this again, I would probably get into that corner, cut it, and then just do a square edge right there instead of trying to turn it, because obviously it did not like the turning and it started to lift. It was kind of stretched too far. So if I were to do it again, I probably wouldn't go that route. I'd probably go straight up and then across and then back down, get squared off. You could always take a razor blade and trim it to give it that soft edge, kind of rounded. But now I'm gonna wait about 30 minutes for these to dry, and I'm going to pull the tape off and then spray them with an automotive grade clear. We're gonna be honest, that was nerve-wracking. So when I pulled the tape off, some adhesive stayed behind, really just in the bend areas. So I sat there with the razor and tried to just pick the adhesive up and pull it off, but I ended up having to get some Gudon and get a little Q-tip and kind of go in between the line and pull it off. Luckily, Gudon is not harmful to paint, but I then had to go back through and wipe it off. I can't wipe this off with acetone or anything because that will pull our base coat off. So I wiped it off with a rag. I'm hoping that's enough that we don't have a chemical reaction with the clear. But I have about 5 to 10 more minutes before I'm gonna lay the clear. And honestly, the paint's pretty dry, so I might just go ahead and spray it. So if this is your first time here, this is the clear coat that I use. It's high-tech clear. I use one other one. I'll have it linked down below. It's what I used on my truck when I painted my truck, and it worked great. I do not remember the name of it. It was like Speed Coat, I believe. But I used it on my truck and it laid down flawlessly. I had no issues with it, but this is left over from a previous job that I did. So I've just been using little bits and pieces of it. But yeah, we're gonna spray some clear on these and then it's a reassemble time. These things came out spectacular. I love the way they look. Our reflectors are completely black with the gold flake in them. These things came out good. The only thing I'm not the happiest with is in these little turns right here where the tape started to peel up. It gave it that uneven look. Luckily, it is very, very, very small, but it still bothers me a little bit. You're not gonna notice unless you're right up on it. But this one is damn near perfect. There's 2 little imperfections right there. This got a little bit of dust in it. It had a gnat that landed in it that I had to dig out on the second coat. Luckily, the clear coat was still very wet, so I pulled it out and then just laid it a little bit heavy right there and let it flatten itself back out. But these look sick. I had some clear left over, so if you watched the Ford emblem video, you guys know I used rattle can clear on it. Well, now it's got some official clear on it because the adhesive failed on it and it fell off. So I didn't put it back on yet until I got some 3M double-sided tape and figured why not. So I just quickly stuffed it, wiped it down, and sprayed it. But now I'm gonna give these things like a good 2 hours to dry. Let them get completely dry and I'll reassemble them. So I'm gonna go inside, eat lunch, edit an older video, and I'll pick you guys up later today. All right guys, now we are back inside the house. Everything is completely dry. It's been about 3.5, 4 hours since I saw you guys last. So now I'm going to start reassembling everything. So I've got my passenger side here and my driver's side there. I'm just gonna start getting all the screws back in, get our reflectors back in, get everything back to the way it was before. Okay, so camera died and I had no idea, so I don't know what you guys saw last, but we got our halo back in here. We got our screws for our reflectors. We got the halo screwed back down into the lens. It's a little squeaky right here, but there's no screw that holds it in right there. But there is a screw that goes through the back side into it, so maybe that's to hold it. Then we got this turn signal reflector back in. It was a major pain in the butt. I had to go get a different Phillips head screwdriver. Made sure to wipe all my fingerprints off of anything. Made sure there was nothing behind the lens. We then fished our LED halo wires back through the grommet that they were from when they were designed. Now what we're gonna do is I got some, this is called butyl. It's also called ribbon sealer, auto glass replacement kit. You can get this at auto part stores. I bought this from AutoZone like 4 or 5 years ago. So this is what it looks like. This is what your headlights are sealed with. So I'm gonna go around and check for any thin spots in the butyl. We're pretty good through here. There's a little bit of a thin spot here and a little bit of a thin spot here. So just so I don't have any leaks in the future, I'm gonna take a little bit of this. A little bit goes a long way. Treat it like Play-Doh. So you can roll it up with your hands, get it nice and thin. It does stretch out, but I'm gonna lay this down right here in this corner where it's kind of thin. That way we don't have any moisture leaks coming from there. All right, that one is packed up. We'll put this back together. We'll put it back in the oven for 10 minutes at 250, and then we're gonna squeeze the crap out of it, get it all pressed back together, get all this old butyl engaged, and we will be perfectly set.
I just finished getting everything wired up. We wired in the LED halos that are in these headlights. If you've been following the channel for a little while now, you guys know when I got these headlights, I didn't install the actual LED part. I didn't hook it up. It was still there, but I had planned on hooking up an RGB strip inside of it and taking out that pure white and making it color changing because I figured that was different. But honestly, I'd rather have the pure white. I plan on doing tab lights and hooking up the mirrors and doing everything white. So when all the lights are on at night, this thing is just a game changer. It's gonna stop people in their tracks. I went ahead and I hooked up the LED halo to my aux beam switch panel. If you've been following the channel for a little while, you might have seen me install that. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and click right up here or up here, wherever that tag will be. But I will have that tag and you guys can go check it out. I absolutely love that switch panel. It makes installing aftermarket things so much easier. Instead of having to run everything through the cab and then hook it up to a switch, you literally just take those two positive negative wires, hook it up right to that switch bus bar, and you are set. It goes right inside to the switch panel and you can put a little marker sticker on whichever one you want. So I'm gonna label mine as the headlights, and now I will be able to just turn those things on with the switch of a button. I didn't want it to be with my running lights because the running lights are gonna take away from that aspect. I wanna be able to have these things sitting on at night. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing cab lights and turn signals, but I think I'm gonna install those as running lights, and I might hook them up together so when I press a button, those come on and then these come on as well. That way I can have all those on together. When this thing is just sitting at shows or sitting in the parking lot or whatever, it's gonna stop people in their tracks. They're just gonna be walking by it, see those lights, and they're just gonna have to take a second to look at it, and that's what I want. I wanna grab people's attention. I wanna get there, look at it, because once they look at it, then they see the YouTube name, and that's when they watch these videos. So I'm not gonna ramble on anymore. I'm gonna wait till the sun goes down a little bit more so you guys can see these lights, and then I will get some B-roll for you guys. As you can tell with the lights behind me, we have them completed. They are in the truck, all the lights are working, and they look sick. So it's actually about 2 days later. I woke up yesterday with a low-grade fever and just took the day off and rested the entire day. But I'm back today feeling better, and I finally got the B-roll for you guys. I wanted to wait till it got darker, but we just had our first break in the rain today, so I figured I might as well get this B-roll filmed now before it starts raining harder. And I mean, it's dark enough, it's overcast where you guys can see that the halos are on and they look sick. Now I have one complaint, and it has to do with that tape, and that is that when the lights are on, you can really see where it kind of bubbled up right there. I'm not complaining too much because they still look really good, and you can really only tell up close. If you're just walking by, you're not going to tell. Once you get up close and look at it, that's when you see it. Not so much just when they're on. If you guys are wanting to do this yourself, I'm just going to give you a quick recap. Make sure you get any metal that's on the headlights off, any screws, clips, anything like that, anything that's plastic or rubber that you can easily remove with your hands. You want to pull off, put them in the oven at 250 for 10 minutes. Try and separate them. If they don't come apart, do 5-minute intervals and just slowly keep prying. If you can get some plastic pry tools, they work great. I use little flathead screwdrivers, but in my opinion, if you want to use some plastic pry tools, it's probably a little bit safer so you don't bend or break anything. Once you have them apart, you can paint what you want, do whatever you want. You want to retrofit, put a projector in there, pods, whatever it might be. Go ahead and do that once they're apart, and then get you some butyl, however you pronounce that, and fill in those little gaps in the headlight where you think it's kind of thin. Then back in the oven for 10 minutes at 250, get it clamped down. If it doesn't go all the way together, do another 5-minute interval until you can really get it clamped down, and then reinstall. So these things came out fantastic. Probably my favorite set of headlights that I've done. So I am more than happy with the way these came out. Hopefully you guys enjoy them too. Make sure while you're at it, go ahead, hit a like on this video, drop a comment down below, and let me know what you guys think. I will catch you guys in the next one. Be fucking great. I love you all. Peace.